JonBenet's death has forced Patsy and me to stand in a similar place and think about our daughter's shoes. Her shoes used to tiptoe and tap dance and skip and point to the sky when she stood on her head. Now they are silent. Things that were important to us before seem unimportant. We need to make a difference in the world for JonBenet, since she can't do that now without our help. We believe her legacy should center around the protection of children in our society.
Heart on her hand. She also was wearing a gold identification bracelet bearing her name and the date, December 25, 1996. A cross hung on a gold chain around her neck, and she wore a gold ring on the middle finger of her right hand. A heart was drawn in red ink on the palm of her left hand. Her hair was gathered in 2 ponytails, one on the top of her head and another at the back.
Who had drawn that heart? The killer? JonBenet? I doubted that my daughter had done so. Certainly as a younger child she might have drawn things on her hand, but at almost 7 years old she was beyond that stage, in my opinion. She cared about her appearance and was not likely to have done so, and if she had, she would have had to draw it with her right hand. Which hand was the heart on? I don't know the answer to that. On the middle finger of the right hand is a yellow metal band. Around the right wrist is a yellow metal identification bracelet with the name JonBenet on one side and the date 12/25/96 on the other side. A red ink line drawing in the form of a heart is located on the palm of the left hand. Did you ever read or hear anything about her in the autopsy report, that she had a heart on her hand? I heard that just recently. And the heart was in red ink. I don't know what that means. You got any thoughts on that? My thoughts, after I thought it was, she wouldn't have drawn on herself like that. Have you ever seen her draw on herself? Oh, they'd get stuff on their hands, but I don't ever remember her drawing on herself. I mean, certainly it was Christmas. She was dressed up. She was clean. She was getting at the age where she started to notice what she wore, and she wanted to look real nice. Anyway, after I heard that, I thought about that, and she wouldn't have written on her hand like that. You say that you played with her at the Whites? Uh-huh. And that you made these little jewelry things? Do you think you were in close proximity with her where you have noticed that? Absolutely. I mean, we sat on the floor and made we took little strips of paper and we rolled them up on a little axle, beads, paper, and that you glue, and they had a holder, and the idea was you make a bunch of them and put them on a string and you got a necklace. And we sat and made, I don't know, half a dozen. And she would cut them out, and then I would roll them up for her. If that somehow that ties to that, I don't know. I don't believe it, no. I don't believe that she would draw a little heart on her hand in that same kind of ink.
I want to ask you whether or not you know, personally, whether or not JonBenet ever drew hearts on her hand or hands at any time when she was a small child.
When she was much younger, she did, but not in recent years, no.
So would it be fair to say that you would be surprised if JonBenet had drawn a heart in her hand the day before?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not JonBenet had either washed her hands or had either bathed or showered prior to going to bed that night at any time on December 25th?
I can't recall.
Okay. If she had drawn a heart in her hand, do you think you might have seen it sometime during the day?
I may have. I don't remember seeing a heart.
Okay. Are you surprised that the autopsy apparently indicates that there might have been a heart drawn in her hand?
Yes.
Did you ever at any time tell anybody that you were in the habit or practice of drawing hearts in JonBenet Ramsey's hand?
No.
Just as a sign of affection? No.
If Patsy is to be believed and she didn't draw the heart on JonBenet's palm, then maybe JonBenet drew the heart on her hand that night. Or maybe Daphne White drew the red heart on JonBenet's hand. Or maybe it was the intruder and he made JonBenet a bowl of pineapple. He wiped her clean and redressed her after he assaulted her, and then he wrote the red heart on her hand. What do you believe? On the way home, JonBenet had fallen fast asleep in the back seat. I got her out of the car and carried her upstairs to her room, laid her on the bed, and took off her coat and shoes. I was amazed at how sound asleep she was. It had been a long day for her. Patsy came in to finish getting JonBenet ready for bed. Did you, the night of the 25th, did you help undress JonBenet? I did. I think I was asked that before, but I don't. I mean, I at least took her shoes off. I believe later on. I carried her upstairs, laid her in bed, took her shoes off. I don't know if I took her coat off. Now JonBenet was all washed up and clean and put on fresh clothes, Christmas clothes, to go over to dinner at the White's house. And I guess she had a nice clean pair of socks on. So when she came home and her father took her shoes off and her mother must have took off her socks, the bottom of her feet should have been very clean. Now this passage from the book is when the coroner arrived at the house and he quickly examined the body before it was taken to the morgue. And it reads, "Small bits of lint and dust were on her bare feet, and her blonde hair was done in 2 ponytails. The little body was zippered inside 2 plastic bags and taken away by the coroner's wagon. I know when I walk around my place with clean bare feet. Often the bottom of my feet pick up lint and dust from the unclean floor. So doesn't this show that JonBenet, when she got home and after her shoes and socks were taken off, that she was walking around their house that night after they got home from the Whites?" Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. And look at that view of Mount Shasta in Northern California. So until next time, see ya.